we might as well just move on. So we don't want to help anyone who doesn't want to be helped either. And I think it's important for both parties to figure that out right up front.
So what are some of the things that we can individually look for in ourselves that would tell us whether we're averse to coaching or available for coaching?
Well, Dan outlined four mindsets. The first, the kind of category one is just the failure mindset, the doom and gloom. And a lot of folks fell into that here in this pandemic. And there you're probably going to need some psychological help that we're not capable of really providing. Mindset number three is the kind of know-it-all. Hey, it is the fierce independence. I can figure it out. I don't need help. And we know in those kind of cases, let's not try. But the two that we're able to help the most is what he calls the frustrated mindset. Hey, I know it can be better. I know I could be achieving more, like even me with my golf game. And so I'm open to getting help. Or we think the mindset, and they're the ones that really scale furthest faster, is what he labeled the transformative mindset. That is, they're constantly looking for the better way, and they typically have a whole bevy of advisors. Again, it's the top tennis players. We got the U.S. Open going on right now, and one of the frustrations of Rafa Nadal and why he didn't want to come play, in addition to other reasons, is they were only going to allow two of their, quote, team to participate, on the sidelines. And those great tennis players have got a whole bevy of coaches that are there to make sure that they're achieving peak performance. And that's really the transformative mindset. So either frustrated, I could be doing better, or, hey, I already know others can help me. Those are the two that we can help the most.
Well, I mean, thank God, right, that you've identified who these people are. And so does it require that you have, how far along do you have to be to be able to make an impact in terms of the business? People, I mentor at tech incubators. We have people in there from anywhere from idea stage to, post-launch, pre-seed to, Series A companies. And, where would you advise being the sweet spot to get started?
Well, generally, it's more kind of a number of employees. I remember when Scott Fuqua, he and Mike only had about 50 employees at Atlassian. And it's usually about that point where you don't know everybody's name. Some folks are starting to show up and you're like, who's that? When the culture starts to crack and things start to get more complex, that's when Scott brought his senior team to my 2-day workshop. That was back in 2005. Today they got 3,500 employees and a $40 billion market cap. So we generally get them at 40 or 50 employees, but I was just writing about David Rogan-Mosher. David had founded 2 other companies prior to his latest called Proof out of Austin, and he kind of gutted it out in building the first 2. And when he was launching the third, he said, you know what? I'm going to see if there's an easier way. And so that's when, over a 3-day launch period, he went through, with our help, all of our tools, and he got done in 3 days what had taken him, 3 years before. And he came right out of the chute, with a huge launch, and then raised 2.2 million and the rest is history. So we like to, again, it's a mindset. As long as the mindset's there, it's like a coach on golf. I'd rather get to you sooner than later before you develop some bad habits.
Right. Well, what about in the tech space? You see more getting done by less people in general, in the earlier stages especially. So that might be a time, there might be a timing that's a bit earlier, would you say?
It is. One of the things, and by the way, this has nothing to do with our work. I'm just a big fan of the research around it. And Noam Wasserman did it when he was at Harvard and others. And it's startup teams do grow further faster than the solo entrepreneur. So two grow faster, two co-founders go faster than one, three do faster than two, four is better than three, and five is better than four, and then you run out of data points. It's one of the reasons why, one of my early students at that MIT program was Brad Feld. Brad went on to co-found Techstars. And one of the requirements to be in that program is that you have to have a co-founder at least. There has to be two of you so that you can kind of share the early burdens of what it takes to scale up. So a more intact founding team will scale further faster. And that's why we're much more effective in working with a team than with a solo entrepreneur.
Well, that makes so much sense. And, I guess I'm thinking of, again, my own situation, right? I was part of a team of people. There were three of us in our launch, but we hired really fast. Yeah. And I still felt alone, right? Because we had different lanes. And so bringing together everybody into, some communal understandings and collective effort seems like it would be important.
It is. And that's why at the heart of our work is a couple of things that haven't changed since the first book back in 2002. And that is the importance of this one-page strategic plan. You're always having to get everybody on the same page. So the key is to have the page for everybody to get on. And then number two, the minute there's a second person in any relationship, anyone in a relationship knows that the number one challenge is communication. And so we're well known, number two, for this meeting rhythm, this daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual set of meetings to kind of drive the business that's separate from meetings you'd have with customers and development meetings and things like that are really at the heart of our work, especially the daily huddle. It's so counterintuitive, but as you know, there's no tech company that's driving Agile or Scrum in development that wouldn't think to have a daily huddle. Why aren't we doing that in all aspects of the organization? So, and I come out of that Agile Scrum world. And so we're really just applying that to the whole company. And if you want to move faster, you just need to pulse faster. And that's why the communication rhythm is important.
So we've all been to those meetings, dragged to those meetings that have been not only time suckers, counterproductive. And so I think a lot of people might hear that and think, ugh, more meetings. But is that the opposite of the intent and the outcome of adopting these habits, would you say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely good meetings and bad meetings. And there tends to be a lot more bad meetings. So we're very precise in the agendas and how they're run. And this daily huddle, for instance, is 7 or 8 minutes. Yet if it's done correctly, you'll get a 10-to-1 return. So Steelcase, I mean, they're a client that early on started in our methodologies. In January, I was attending their daily huddle of 7 minutes, but it saves everybody about an hour of time every day that otherwise would be sucked up in sending emails around and other kind of worthless communication. So, but you have to make sure that 7 minutes is run properly, or people are going to be bored out of their mind.
Well, that's the key, right? And how many of us come out of the gate really understanding how to run a meeting effectively, efficiently, and productively?
Yeah, I remember when I first visited Michael Dell's operations after he'd scaled up pretty significantly, and I was always impressed how disciplined they were inside that organization are. There was posters outside meeting rooms that said, here are the 6 rules for running an effective meeting. They brought process to everything, and that's what's critical.
Wow. That's an impressive thing to have heard about before the Rockefeller Habits was introduced, right?
It is. Well, and it's like, again, I got my grip. I was gripping the club wrong. And if you're gripping the club wrong, there's nothing, everything else is going to be a mess. And it's the same with running a meeting. There's a process for how to do things that are well known, whether it's, proper swing in golf or running a daily huddle. And it's just foolish, I think, to waste any time doing it wrong.
Well, you have certainly given us the tools to learn how to do it right. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. We've gotten so much out of it. thank you so much. And for everybody who wants to hear more, you can go to, stay tuned for next week, but also check out scalingup.com and there's so much there. I don't even want to start to synthesize it. Thank you so much, Verne, for being here today.
Christine, thank you.